Okay, so are you ready to up your chess game?
Right.
Like, really go beyond moving pieces randomly and actually understand the why behind every move you make.
Absolutely.
That's what we're diving into today with Tactics in the Chess Opening.
It's a good one.
This book promises to help anyone, from beginners to more experienced players, find those killer moves.
Yeah, understanding tactics is like suddenly you can see everything on the chessboard. You can spot opportunities your opponent misses, and you can avoid those blunders where you lose a piece because you just didn't see the attack coming.
What I love about this book is that it just jumps right in.
Yeah.
It doesn't bog you down with tons of theory.
Right.
It just uses all these real games as examples.
Yeah, it's a really practical approach, and it's refreshing because, a lot of chess books can be very heavy on theory. But this one really cuts to the chase. The author, Dr. Regis, he really emphasizes how important tactical awareness is, even in positional play, which can sometimes be seen as slow and strategic.
Yeah, and he even says a knowledge of tactics is the foundation of positional play.
Yeah,
So it's almost like, having that secret weapon that just makes everything you do stronger no matter what style you play.
exactly. And he doesn't shy away from challenging some of those common chess beliefs. Like, for example, he argues that the French defense is actually easier for black, which might surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, that one definitely caught my eye. I always thought the French defense was this like really tough nut to crack for black.
It just goes to show you that there are many different ways to approach chess.
Yeah.
And later on in the book, we'll even come across a quote from Reddy. He was a very famous chess master, and he was a big believer in open games.
Hmm.
But the point is, there's no one right way to play. Understanding tactics, though, will make you a stronger opponent no matter what opening you choose.
So the book kicks off by looking at some openings for white, and it starts with the Scotch Gambit. For those unfamiliar, it starts with the moves 1, e4, e5, 2, nf3, nc6, 3, d4, xb4, and it can lead to some very exciting games.
Oh yeah, the Scotch Gambit.
Have you played it much yourself?
It's known for being very sharp, very aggressive.
Yeah.
It's full of tactical possibilities for both sides. In fact, the book actually starts with this game where black resigns way too early
No, no.
after white plays 7bx6. They
Wow.
totally miss a chance to counterattack,
Really?
which is a good reminder to always look for ways to tune the tables. Never give up hope.
Don't resign too soon. I bet that person was kicking themselves when they realized they had 7.
Oh, exactly.
Sometimes those obvious moves are the easiest ones to miss when you're caught up in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, it reminds me of that great chess quote, "The mistakes are all there, waiting to be made."
Oh, that's a good one. So then there's this other game in the book called Mate in More Than Two.
Okay.
And it really highlights how a series of checks can be just as powerful as, that one big checkmate threat. It's like a chain reaction.
Right, white forces the black king on this wild goose chase across the board
Yeah.
until black just runs out of space. Each move, white makes forces black to make another very specific move until, bam,
Oh,
13p3
yeah.
checkmate.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful illustration.
You're like, that perfect trap. Okay, this next one is called the Goering Gambit.
Okay.
Now, for those new to this, it's similar to the Scotch Gambit, but with its own unique twists and turns.
And it can be just as sharp and exciting. There's a fantastic example in the book called Left and a Right, where white sacrifices a pawn to open up lines for this double attack,
Oh, wow.
and black's king side just crumbles.
So it's a good reminder that material isn't everything.
Exactly.
It's about having that attack, that well-coordinated attack, that's
Yeah.
more important.
Precisely. Sometimes that temporary sacrifice, whether it's a pawn or even a piece,
Yeah.
can lead to a long-term advantage, especially if you can unleash one of those devastating tactical sequences.
Speaking of tactical sequences, the Italian game is up next.
Right.
It's another classic opening for white, but what makes it so special from a tactical standpoint?
The Italian game, it starts with the moves 1, e4, e5, 2, nf3, nc6, 3, bc4, bc5.
Okay.
And it's interesting because it often leads to these very open positions with lots of active piece play.
It's like both sides are bringing out their best pieces right from the start.
Exactly.
Sounds like a recipe for some fireworks.
Exactly. And, just like in a duel, one wrong move, one miscalculation, and it can all fall apart.
Yeah.
And the book has this great example called Decoy and Fork.
Okay, decoy and fork, it sounds brutal just from the name. What happens?
So in this game, white sacrifices a rook,
Whoa.
which, yeah, it sounds crazy, but It's all part of a plan to lure the Black King into this vulnerable spot.
Okay.
And then, bam, the queen comes in and delivers this devastating fork, attacking the king and another valuable piece at the same time.
That's why they call it a trap. Black just walks right into it. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes you have to be willing to give up some material to gain that tactical advantage.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing those critical moments when a temporary, material deficit, it doesn't matter as much
Yeah.
if you could deliver that knockout blow.
Right.
The in a muddle example from the book
Mhm.
also shows this, but in a different way.
Okay, what's in a muddle? Sounds like someone got themselves in trouble.
Yeah, this one is all about subtlety, thinking ahead.
Uh-huh.
White makes this seemingly insignificant move,
Okay.
moving their bishop to e3, that's 7, b3 if you're following along. It doesn't look like much,
Right.
but it sets off this chain reaction.
I bet it's more powerful than it looks.
Oh, much more. Suddenly, Black's position starts to crumble. This one move creates multiple threats, forcing Black into all these defensive maneuvers that actually weaken their position in the long run.
It's like laying a trap, but instead of a net, it's this intricate web of threats. By the time they realize the danger, it's too late.
You got it. And that's the beauty of prophylaxis in chess, right?
Yeah.
Anticipating your opponent's plans and disrupting them before they even have a chance to get going.
I like it.
The book also touches on this really intriguing concept called the queenless attack.
Queenless attack. So wait, you can checkmate without your queen.
You can. It might seem counterintuitive, but it's totally possible.
Wow.
The queen is obviously a very powerful attacker,
Yeah.
but a coordinated assault from your rooks, your bishops, even your knights can be just as deadly.
So it's like taking down a giant, but instead of one big hero, you've got this team of skilled warriors all working together.
Exactly.
You might not have the most powerful piece on your side, but with some teamwork and the right strategy, you can still be victorious.
What a great analogy. It's all about using each piece to its full potential
Yeah.
and coordinating your attack to exploit those weaknesses in your opponent's position, no matter how small.
Okay, so we've seen how white can really seize the initiative with openings like the Scotch Gambit and Italian game.
Right.
Both of those starting with that king's pawn to e4. But what happens when black tries to shake things up a bit and avoid that expected response?
That's where the Scandinavian defense comes in.
Okay.
It's a solid and I think often underestimated response to 1e4.
Yeah.
Immediately challenging white's control of the center with 1d5.
The element of surprise. So how does white deal with that?
Well, the book showcases a few different strategies for white, often focusing on how to exploit this slightly cramped position that black gets in the Scandinavian. One great example is this game called Stuck in the Middle.
Oh, that sounds ominous. I'm guessing black's king gets caught in a bad spot.
You got it. Black's king ends up trapped in the center, and white's pieces are able to deliver this quick checkmate.
Ouch.
It's a classic example of what can happen when one side's pieces are slow to develop.
Right.
It allows the opponent to exploit that positional advantage.
Yeah, it's like the king is stuck in traffic while the rest of their army is still trying to find parking.
Exactly.
And then there's unmasked, that sounds like exposing a key piece.
Absolutely. In this game, white makes a well-timed knight move.
Okay.
And it forces this sequence of moves that ends up leaving black's queen completely out in the open,
Oh no.
ready to be captured.
It's like that moment in a heist movie where the thief, they think they have it all figured out, but they forgot one little detail.
Yeah, one loose end.
And then it all falls apart. Okay, and jumping jacks. I'm intrigued by that name. What kind of tactical shenanigans are we talking about here?
So in this one, black tries to get really aggressive early on,
Okay.
making what seems like a powerful bishop move. 6. bg4.
I'm sensing a bet coming here.
But it turns out to be a blunder.
Oh no.
White is able to seize the opportunity, completely outmaneuver black.
It's a good lesson that not every aggressive-looking move is a good one.
Exactly.
Sometimes that well-calculated positional move is going to be way more effective than that really flashy but unsound attack.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's not about who can make the most spectacular moves. It's about who can make the best moves in that position.
We've covered a lot here, the Scotch Gambit, the Italian game, even the Scandinavian defense. What other chess adventures await in this tactical treasure trove?
Well, we've looked at openings where white starts things off with that king's pawn to e4. But what about a defense that throws white off balance a little bit, the Caro-Kann?
Ah, the Caro-Kann. Starts
Yeah.
1, e4, c6, right. It always seemed like a bit of a mystery to me, like Black is trying to keep all their secrets hidden for as long as possible.
That's a great way to put it. It's considered a very solid defense, but as this book shows, it can be pretty sharp and tactical too.
So not just a passive defense then.
Not at all. It often leads to these really interesting skirmishes where both sides have to be careful. One mistake, and it's like a snowball effect.
Oh, yeah.
It can quickly get out of control. There's a game in here called Mixing It Up that shows this really well.
Okay, mixing it up. Tell me more.
So in this game, Black gets a little greedy, and they end up having their queenside pieces picked off one by one.
Ouch. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, each capture just weakens their position even more until eventually it all collapses.
It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of classic blunders, we also have Not Again.
Not again. Okay, now I have to know what happens.
All right, so this one involves a trap that Black falls into after capturing a pawn with their bishop, bxf3, if you're following along with the notation.
Okay.
And it's actually a very common trap in the Caro cam.
Is it really?
But players still fall for it all the time.
It just goes to show you. Those tactical patterns, they're important. You learn them, and then you start to see them everywhere.
Absolutely. Recognizing those patterns is key to improving your tactical vision.
Yeah. It's like you're learning a secret code.
Exactly.
And then suddenly all these possibilities open up on the board.
I like that.
So we've got the Caro Khan, but the book also covers the Latvian Gambit, the Perk defense, all with their own unique tactical flavors. There's even a section on the Alekhine defense. That's one where it feels like Black is just asking for trouble right from the start.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
The Alekhine starts 1e4 and f6, and it can be very provocative.
It can be.
Black is intentionally letting White build up this big pawn center,
Right.
almost daring them to overextend.
Yeah, it's like poking a bear. You're just trying to see what's going to happen.
And, like poking a bear, it can be very dangerous if Black isn't careful.
For sure.
They have to be ready for those early attacks.
Right.
And then they need to know how to handle that pawn center later on.
So we've explored a lot of tactical ideas from openings like the Scotch Gambit, the Italian game. We learned how to counter with the Scandinavian defense. We even delved into the Caro Can and the Alekhine. It's amazing how much ground one book can cover.
I know, right? And we've really only just scratched the surface. Even if just one of these tactical ideas resonated with you today, think about all the possibilities that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this book is giving us a key to unlock a whole new level of understanding in chess. And they say the best way to learn is by doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So go out there, put these ideas into practice, see what happens.
So there you have it, folks. Pick an idea, any idea. Maybe it's that queen fork in the Italian game or that classic trap in the Caro Can, and then see if you can spot it in your next game.
You might surprise yourself.
You never know. Until next time, happy chess playing.